Good afternoon, Black and Married with Kids. I am so excited to be with you guys for this amazing Monday to offer you guys an amazing, I wouldn't say it's an amazing topic, but definitely a topic that people face within relationships, and that's rejection. So come on in. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Ariel Fuller. I am the co-owner of Dunamis Women Enterprise. Come on in, viewers. I'm waiting on you guys, but be sure to comment below. Tell me where you're from, your city, your state. I am Ariel Fuller, the co-owner of Dunamis Women Enterprise, where my mother and I guide women of faith through spiritual mentorship, prayer, and coaching, so they can experience healing within their soul and transform their life relationships. And so I want to thank Lamar and Ronnie for having me on this platform tonight for my Takeover Monday as we talk about, and I'm going to give you guys some tools on addressing rejection in a relationship. So definitely comment below. Tell me where you're from. I would love to know, because this is a very serious topic, and a lot of people deal with rejection within their marriage. Hi, how are you from Miami, Florida? Within their marriage, within their relationships, sometimes even with your family, right? Rejection is very, very huge. And so a lot of times we don't know what to do when we're facing rejection. And although I am very young and I'm on here with Black and Married with Kids, rejection has been a huge part of my life. And so I feel as if now that I have learned to embrace rejection. Honestly, sometimes I really now have gotten so comfortable with rejection that I find myself growing every time I face rejection within my own life. And so that's why I'm so excited to share some points with you all on how to deal with rejection. Hi, Vanna, how are you? Thanks for watching. Hi, Olivia, thank you for tuning in. So before we talk about overcoming rejection in a relationship, I want you all to share this on your page, because you will be very surprised how many people deal with rejection when it comes to relationships. How many people deal with rejection within their marriage? How many of them deal with rejection from, their friendships? Oh, thank you, Michaela. Thank you so much for being at the conference as well. So I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to jump right into this topic because I got to go vote. So I want to make sure that I give this to you guys today. So please get your pen and paper, and hopefully this can be able to bless you, all right? So here's the first thing. Overcoming rejection. Rejection never feels good, okay? I'm gonna just put it out there. Even though like I said, that I've learned how to embrace rejection as a woman, as a man, as a human, period. When you are facing rejection, especially from somebody that you love, it never feels good to your flesh, okay? So it's really hard to govern yourself emotionally and mentally when someone that you love, who should be receiving you, right? Receiving all of your love, is rejecting you. And so the pointers that I'm going to give you guys today, I really want you to slowly think about these things and how you can apply them into your life. So if you're ready, comment below. Ari, I'm ready. I want to see that you guys are ready to receive the pointers that I'm going to give to you all tonight, regardless of where you are, okay? Yes, I'm glad that they just had a discussion about this at your church, because rejection is so real, okay? So here's the first thing. Rejection, you have to acknowledge this, okay? When you're dealing with rejection from a loved one, rejection is a reflection, okay, of where they are, but not who you are, okay? That's the first thing. Rejection is only a reflection of where they are mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm going to break this down, but it is not a reflection of who you are. And why am I saying this? Because oftentimes rejection causes you to put attention on you, and we adopt this victim mentality, saying, what is wrong with me? We start to take that rejection and look at the mirror at ourselves and say, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me? Did I mess up? Do I not look good enough? Did I gain too much weight? Whatever it is that comes through your mind and your mental thoughts, you allow their rejection to reflect on you, okay? But the first thing you got to realize is that rejection is a reflection. It's them telling you, it's them putting up the mirror subconsciously without words, and they're telling you, hey, this is where I am. And so what you have to do is you got to start losing focus off of you and start focusing on them. Now, it's a difference, okay? Because when I say lose focus off of you, that means that don't start wondering what is wrong with me. But now start shifting your view and start focusing on them. But I want you to focus on them, but not force yourself on them. Okay? This is very important because when we face rejection, especially from a loved one, the first initial thing we start doing is start forcing ourselves on them. We start forcing ourselves for them to see us because we feel like when we look in that mirror, we feel like they don't see us, right? We feel like something's wrong. So we start just presenting ourselves in front of them more and more and more and more and forcing conversations because we want them to accept us. But I want you to start focusing on them. Allow that rejection to turn on a light bulb in your head to say, where's my spouse right now? Where are they mentally? Where are they emotionally? Where are they spiritually? Because see, when they reject someone they love, that often tells you that something's going on down on the inside of them that they're not verbally stating. Now, I can't tell you exactly what that thing is. However, there is something that's going on with them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And if we think about this, especially at Doing This Woman Enterprise, we're a faith-based company. Oftentimes, we all know sometimes when people reject you, they're not rejecting you, but sometimes they're rejecting God on the inside of you if you are a believer. And here's what I want you to necessarily understand, okay? Because if you are a believer, and I don't know if you are, and if you get offended, I'm sorry, you can log off, but I'm a believer, so I'm always going to talk about my beliefs. But oftentimes when we sometimes reject God, right? He doesn't look at us and say, what's wrong with me? He stands in his own autonomy of being who he is as our father, right? And he says, there's something going on with my daughter or my son. I don't know what's going on with you, but you're rejecting me, but I'm going to keep loving you. I'm going to keep putting my focus on you. I'm not going to force myself on you, but I'm going to focus on you because there's something going on down on the inside of you. And you guys, relationships are a natural, they should be a natural representation of our relationship with our Heavenly Father. Okay, so how we react to each other as man and woman, oftentimes put yourself in the shoes of God, right? Put yourself in his shoes. And so the way that he reacts towards us is sometimes the same way that we can't react towards our spouse, our significant other, the person that we love. So it lets you know that there's something going on with them from an emotional or mental or spiritual standpoint that you cannot necessarily pinpoint, but you got to know that, man, it's something that is going on with them. And so I'm going to take focus off of me, and I'm going to start focusing on them, and I'm going to start observing some things that are going on, all right? So if you guys got that first point, I see you all commenting. Olivia, Michaela, thank you guys for staying with me. Hopefully you guys got something from this first point, because you first have to do a mind shift, okay? Because if you don't do a mind shift, you're going to allow rejection to consume your mind and play on things of your mind, and then you don't even know where to necessarily go. And Luana, you can always share this on your page as well if you can't tag people, okay? And so that's the first thing. You got to stop consuming your mind with all these thoughts that have nothing to do with why they're rejecting you. All right, because naturally sometimes what you're thinking has nothing to do with it. So that's the first thing, okay? The second thing you do, now that you face this rejection, right, and you see that it's a reflection of where they are in their stage of life, because we all go through stages, the second thing that you need to do is you need to create an atmosphere of renewal, okay? Because rejection is a sign that something has shifted. Something has changed. There has been a different phase that's going on. And so now you got to start renewing some things within your relationship. And the only way that you can renew some things is you got to address it. And oftentimes rejection causes us to be silent, and we start tiptoeing around things, trying to do the best thing that we can to make it better, instead of vocally opening up our mouths and addressing the situation. And women, this is where it's important, because it's how you address it, and not necessarily just saying, well, why are you rejecting me? Am I not good enough? And all this different stuff. We can't go on this tangent, right? So allow yourself to say, you know what? Something needs to be renewed within my relationship that I need to necessarily start doing, because you're feeling it. See, here's the thing. You're feeling the rejection, which means that if you feel the rejection, that means it's something that you need to start doing to shift it. Because the person who's rejecting you is what's causing the pain. But if you just consume the pain, then you're not going to execute your power to start shifting some things around you. And so this renewal stage is saying, you know what, I'm going to start executing and allowing myself to be in a position to now bring a renewal to my relationship. Now, is it black or white? Is what you do and what I'm about to tell you do going to actually shift the whole atmosphere? No, because it takes two people in a relationship to participate, right? But this renewal part is so important. And even when we go back to the scenario of how sometimes if we reject God, right, he just sits down and he waits, right? He says, I'm going to be there for you. And what happens is we as individuals have to hit a breaking point where we're like, our mind gets to shift and we get into a renewal standpoint where we're like, God, I gotta come to you. I gotta start having some conversations with you. I gotta start figuring out why I rejected you in the first place. But he just waits patiently. So here's what I want you to do, okay? One, you have to acknowledge that you have to address it in a conversation, okay? Especially when it's someone that you love and someone you're in a relationship with. You are in a relationship, so you cannot just ignore this. You're going to have to take the time, the right time, and find a time to address it in a wholesome conversation, okay? Do not do this conversation when you're angry. Do not do this conversation when you're emotional. Do not do this conversation when they are not in a state of wanting to communicate, okay? Because you got to be skillful within your timing of when you actually sit down and have this conversation with them. But a conversation needs to happen, okay? And this is why, because if not, you're going to keep concealing all of these emotions and it's going to take a toll on you, okay? So when you have this conversation, definitely be mindful of your words, okay? Rejection is causing you to feel some type of way. So when you sit down and you have this conversation, and I was a communication major, it's very important to when you talk to anyone that you really focus on I feel statements, okay? Some of us may know this, some of us don't. But oftentimes we like to start our conversations with you did this, you did that, you ignored me, you did not, have sex with me the other day, whatever it is, right? We start off with these you conversations. But the thing is, we need to start saying I. Take ownership of how you feel. Because, see, here's the thing. People cannot excuse the hurt that they've caused you. All right? They cannot say, man, I didn't mean to cause you that hurt. They caused you the hurt. You feel some type of way. So own it. There were things that they did from a rejection standpoint made you feel some type of way. So when you have this conversation, you're going to say, I felt or I feel whatever the situation is, when this is done, whatever that act is, that it makes me feel this type of way, okay? So it's really just looking at our communication and our language. And it brings me to my next point. When you say I feel, it takes you out of a defensive mode. You cannot say I feel in a very defensive manner. So you can be like, well, I felt when you did this the other day, you just completely rejected me. See, that defensive mode has to go. Because here's the thing. If this person really loves you, if they really, 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 really love you, just like we really, really, really love God, right? They often already know that they're rejecting you. They just don't want to acknowledge it, but they know what they're doing. They know their patterns are not the same way that it used to be when they first met you. They know that they're not having intimacy with you the way that they should have been having intimacy with you or that they used to when you first got together. They know that they're not going on date nights and they're not adorning you and they're not affirming you because oftentimes when people are rejecting, they know exactly what they're doing. Now, we like to say subconsciously they don't, but the truth of the matter is they do. They're just not addressing it. So when you get in defense mode, it's no need for you to get in defense mode because a mature person, and you're going to learn through this conversation, are they mature or are they not? Because a mature person oftentimes knows what they're doing to reject the person that they truly love, okay? So you don't have to get in defense mode, but you do have to, when you have these I feel statements, women or men watching this, please have scenarios ready to go. Now, I'm not saying create a list of all the things that they did wrong. But oftentimes what happens is when we go into conversations, we pour out our emotions and we don't have specific situations that we can necessarily address. Now, do not come to the conversation with 10, 15, 30 things that they did to reject you. All right? Please do not do that. But have at least 2 or 3 things of scenarios and situations where you can say, I feel when we were in the kitchen at this time and we had this conversation and I decided to hug you and you turned your back on me, it made me feel unappreciative of the love that I wanted to give you. I'm just using that example, right? Please have that example ready, because if you just go into the conversation saying, I feel you always just ignore me or you don't want to have anything to do with me, they're gonna be like, what? What you mean? When did I ignore you? What you talking about? What day was this? all these questions start happening, right? And they like to escape the conversation. You don't even know what you're talking about. Which I didn't reject you, the other week. What? So you have to be very specific with some scenarios or some situations where you felt the level of rejection. All right. So, like I said, do not come with a whole list, ladies, but at least have 2 or 3 things that you can say as examples that made you feel some type of way. Okay. And so when you're having this conversation, the last thing I want you to do is address these things, but allow them to respond. Because when you allow them to respond, that's when you're able to hear, ladies or men, listen to this, you're able to hear where they are. Like I said in my first point, rejection is not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of where they are. And when you address this conversation, you got to put on your big girl panties, your big boy boxers, whatever you got to do. And you got to now be ready to receive where they are. And you don't know the words that may come out of their mouth. So oftentimes, if they just ignore you, then that means that they are not ready to receive this conversation. If they put the blame back on you, then that means that they're not ready to take ownership. All right. If they like to, you address something in rejection and they act very immature, then that means that they oftentimes probably like the state that where they're in. But they could, at the end of the day, say, I'm sorry. I didn't know. This is what is going on with me right now. So you got to be able to let them respond during the conversation, okay? You can't always just be the one saying everything, getting your point across. This is a conversation, which is a two-way street. So they got to be able to respond so that you can listen very keenly, ladies or men, very keenly to the words that they're going to say. Be mindful of their body language, all this stuff, and govern your emotions during this conversation. Because like I said, it's not about you, it's about where they are. You're taking ownership. And here's the thing, when you do this the right way, you're building yourself up. When I learned how to face rejection, you all, it was about them, but I was the recipient of the confidence that it was building down on the inside of me. I was the recipient of being able to be confident to address some conversations this way, to be able to stand in my own autonomy and who I was as a woman, regardless of the words that came out of their mouth. It built a certain level of confidence in me because I was able to address something that how I felt. I didn't have to consume all these things. I didn't have to allow my emotions to be the best of me, but I was able to build some power and strength down on the inside of me. And this is really what this conversation does, regardless of however they respond. What it does is it allows you to now get some sense of who you are and what you need to do. Okay, so yes, ownership and maturity is very important. You're absolutely right, Latasha. Sometimes they put the blame on you and make it about them, and you got to be ready to receive that, okay? Because you need to know, as a woman, as a person in this relationship, as a man in this relationship, where they are. You have the right to know that. You do need to know that, okay? So allow them to respond. All right. So number one, like I said, rejection is a reflection of where they are, not who you are, right? Number two, you have to be able to foster a renewal by having this conversation, okay? So that's the 2 points I just mentioned. If you're still with me, comment below, Ari, I'm still with you. If you're just now joining me, once again, my name is Ariel Fuller. I'm the co-owner of Doing This Woman Enterprise, where my mother and I guide women of faith through spiritual mentorship, prayer, and coaching as they experience the healing power of God to transform their life relationships. And part of this, women, is you have to go through a certain level of healing process to be able to do this. And rejection has caused a lot of healing to take place in me. So I thank Lamar and Ronnie for having me on here. All right. So if you guys are ready for point number 3, comment below, say, I'm still with you. I'm still here. All right. So like I said, after that conversation, you're either going to do 2 things, okay? That conversation is going to do 2 things. It's either going to face your reality, or it is going to help you understand where the rejection is leading you, okay? So it's going to do 2 things. The third point, based upon that conversation, now you all have decisions that need to be made that either you are going to click the refresh button together or separately. And what do I mean by this? Once this conversation happens, you could say, as a couple, let's start refreshing. Let's start doing something new. Let's hit this refresh button. Once they acknowledge it, if they acknowledge it, they may say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that you felt that way. So maybe we should start going on more date nights. Maybe we should start having more conversations. Or the conversation can go left, okay? And maybe you need to go to a further counsel or get spiritual mentorship or come to us here at Dunamis Women Enterprise as we guide you and lead you on strategies of what to implement, because that's important. So you're either going to do the refresh button of two things. You're going to do the refresh button on your relationship, or you're going to hit the refresh button on you. And what do I mean by this? By this means is that you can either get support or you can start focusing on you, because see, rejection causes you to lose you. And so when I say you need to start focusing on you, now what you need to start doing is say, how can I take care of me as the woman or as the man? Because no relationship, any relationship that you're in, you should never lose yourself for the sake of somebody else. That is not what a relationship is for. That is not a wholesome, that is not a prosperous relationship. You cannot convince me that any relationship that's prosperous is you losing yourself for the gain of somebody else. That's not what relationships are for, okay? So what you need to do is you need to start focusing on you. And what does focusing on you mean? That may just mean getting a good support group around you. That means just go travel, right? That means go take some time to clear your head, right? Don't allow this stuff to really consume you so much that their rejection, the things that they are doing, because you can't change people, but what you can do is you can change yourself. And so when you start focus on you, you start entering into a new phase of life. And this is the beautiful part about rejection for me. Rejection caused me every time to enter into a new phase of my life, with or without the person. It allowed me to get this awakening moment to say, Ariel, you allowed yourself to get really consumed with this person that you loved. You allowed yourself to get really consumed with this relationship that you lost sight of you. So now what you're going to do is you're going to enter into this new phase, this new season of life, and you're going to now start refreshing yourself. And yes, Michaela, I like how you mentioned that point of pray more, because if I go back to my analogy, oftentimes when we reject God and we come back to him, we renew ourselves and we say, God, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for rejecting you. But then you go into a refresh stage, right? And you start praying more. You start spending time with him more. You start really cultivating that relationship. So if that person does not want to necessarily cultivate that relationship with you, then you got to start taking some self-care for yourself. Okay, going through a healing process for yourself. And that's why it's so important for you to do this. Okay, so here's the thing, I'm not going to leave you all hanging, because this is easier said than done, right? And I pray that even if you're going through rejection right now, that you do allow yourself to start working through this process. But we have a great tool for you. Okay, so I have two things that I want to be able to give you guys tonight, because you guys stayed here and you watched this. One, Michaela was on here and she saw the recent Good Man versus Great Man online conference that we did last weekend. I think it was October 27th. And this is where great men were speaking to the hearts of women, right? And they were talking to women about a great man and his identity and a great man and his transformation. And women, it's so important that we allow ourselves to receive words and wisdom from men who are standing in their own authenticity and autonomy of who they are, because we need that sometimes. Oftentimes we think that we're going through this by ourselves, and sometimes we need some men to speak life into us, okay? So I put the link, and I want someone to put the link down below, that you can get the replay of this conference that's available right now for you to watch all these sessions. And you can go to bit.ly/greatman2018. And we have men who are speaking to you about relationships, their marriage, their identity, and they're really going to pour some wisdom and knowledge into you through this replay, okay? So I want you to go and get that replay. If you feel in your relationship that you want to hear from men, you want to be able to hear exactly what's going on in the mind of men, and you feel confused right now at this standpoint, then that is a great tool that I want you to get your hands on tonight, okay? But if you say, I want to do this last point, Ariel, I want to start getting some self-care. I want to start focusing on me and who I am as a woman, because that's all I can do right now. I need some rejuvenation. I don't even know exactly where to start. Then I want you to get access to our healing course, okay? Yes, Michaela, it's bit.ly/greatman2018. Very, very close. But thank you, Michelle and Michaela, for putting that down there. Great Man 2018. But if you say, Ariel, I want some self-care, right? I really want to take care of myself. Then I want you to get access to our healing course. Now, normally I don't offer two things when I'm on here on Facebook Live, but I feel like some of you all may need this, okay? So you can go to our healing course and you can go to bit.ly/myhealingcourse. And we have 3 healing courses on there, but one of them focuses strictly on rejection and betrayal. And it takes you through a whole series of how to deal with rejection and betrayal. And I want you to get your hands on that online course. If you're saying, Ariel, I just need to be built up as a woman to focus on this rejection because I don't know what to do and I need healing in this area, go to bit.ly/myhealingcourse. Either or, both of those courses are great for you. But I want you to do one thing. I want you to invest in yourself. I want you to invest in your development, you all, because we need sisters. We need support. We need tools to continue to build us up as we're going through this process. Because like I said, oftentimes there's some things that we can't do in the natural, but only God can move in the spiritual. And if you are not aligned in position where he needs you to be, then you can now hinder sometimes the things of what he's trying to do within your life and within your relationships. So it's so important that you stand your ground and you govern yourself of where you are as a woman so that you can be the best you to execute exactly what the Father is telling you to do on behalf of that woman or that man in your life, okay? So I really want you to do not leave with getting one of those tools tonight. Please, you will not regret it. Michaela's on here. She was on the conference. She can tell you how amazing it was. Michelle was on here. She was on the Great Man Conference. She can tell you how amazing it was. Michelle also took the healing course, so they can definitely do both of these things. So please, ladies, if you're first time getting introduced to Dunamis Women Enterprise, do not leave yourself empty-handed. It's not about me, but it's about you. And I have seen so many women transform their life and relationships through the healing power of God and by being imparted to by men. And like I said, I never do 2 courses for you guys, but I didn't want to leave you too empty-handed, all right? So I thank you all so very much for allowing me to be here with you guys tonight. I thank you for staying with me. I thank you for sharing this on your page because so many women or men need to hear this as they continue to heal within their relationship, all right? So I love you all so very much. You guys will see my mom on here tomorrow for another topic. And once again, thank you, Lamar and Ronnie, for allowing me to be here on Black and Married with Kids. And I want you to have an amazing, amazing night, okay? So I will see you all next week on Monday. Look out for me, and God bless you as well. Thank you, Luana. Have a good night. Yes, Michaela, she said a must-watch, ladies, something we have to learn from the man. Yes, it's a must-watch. Get your hands on it, and you get a free book. All right, you do get a free book when you get the Great Man replay. Michaela, let me know if you got your book as well, if you got the replay as well. So thank you all so very much. I'm about to go vote. So good night, and have a good one. All right, good night.